Am I the a-hole for calling out my dad's abuse in front of the entire family? Last weekend, my husband, 36 male, and I, 35 female, took our daughters, 5 and 14, to a family barbecue. The people there were my aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, and all the children on my mom's and dad's side. This barbecue is very important in my family, as it's the only time both sides of our family are together. It is also the only time I see my immediate family. Growing up, my dad was verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive to me and my siblings. And as the oldest, I often took the worst of it. My mom was never abused by him and accused us of lying. This dynamic led to a bad relationship with my parents now. I only stay in contact for my mother's sake, and because they had another kid who is still a minor, and I want to have a relationship with her. When we arrived at the barbecue, my dad immediately started ordering me around and being generally rude. I just avoided him because I didn't want to ruin the gathering. About 2 hours in, a group of us decided to leave and catch up, leaving all the kids with the grandparents and great-grandparents. I was originally excited to go, but after learning my 2 kids would be left in my father's care, I declined. My dad started blowing up and accused me of hating him. I told him I would never leave my kids alone with him after how he treated me growing up. He said I was exaggerating and he never really hurt me. Then he added that he was technically only watching one of my kids because my husband and I adopted my 14-year-old daughter when she was 13. That's when I snapped. All the years of anger and hurt and everything he did poured out of me in front of my entire family. I listed out everything he did, from pushing me so hard into the wall I got a concussion, to twisting my brother's arm so hard it broke. By the end, a silence fell over my family. The joy was gone. Everyone stared at my dad in horror. I packed up and left with my husband and kids. It's been almost a week. My dad and mom are blowing up my phone, saying I scared my 15-year-old sister, and I'm a horrible person for telling everyone that it should have stayed private. Almost half of my family has cut him off, and I've received a lot of support. But I feel terrible. I might have put my mom and sister at more risk of being abused, and I'm no longer allowed to be in communication with either of them. My family is divided now. My kids are scared of their grandparents, which breaks my heart. Even some of my siblings think I took it too far. So, am I the a-hole for telling my entire family about my dad's abuse? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Abusers deserve verbal abuse at a minimum and in public. Sometimes keeping this stuff a secret is what emboldened them. My dad was old school, spare the rod type. Not really abusive, just could be mean and scary when my older sister and I fought, which we did a lot of. One Sunday, sis tripped me, which was nothing new. But when I fell, I broke something that was my dad's. He didn't believe me that sis had tripped me on purpose and slapped me. I went to church with a big red welt on my cheek. People noticed and asked. I just said dad slapped me and walked off. He never hit me again. I'm sure he heard all about it from his church buddies. If he wanted you to tell people good things about him, he should have treated you better. Not the a-hole. Simple. You're only saying what happened. Abusers deserve nothing good, I must say. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You did what needed to be done. And if your kids are scared of their grandparents, that is good. It means that they realize that their maternal grandfather is not to be trusted. Also, he is an a-hole for what he said about your daughter. Let it all burn down. Your silence protected him for way too long. Imagine if he had hurt one of your kids. Maybe think about blocking both of your parents. Better blocked than abusive. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being so against making my siblings packed lunch for school that I won't make mine anymore? I, 16 male, got so sick of the lunches at school in the last year. They're trash and nothing ever tastes good. Nothing's all that healthy either. So back in December, I decided that after Christmas, I'd make my own packed lunch in the mornings. My parents were cool with it at first, and my dad thought it was good for me, because he and mom only have basic cooking and meal prep skills, so he was happy to see someone in the household do stuff. I ended up with a really nice rotation of lunches. In April, my mom told me I should make lunch for my siblings too, 14, 13, and 11. I told her that was not happening, and she should encourage them to make their own if they want something else. Mom told me it wasn't a big ask and my siblings deserved better food too. I told her they deserve better from her then, but not me. The reason I was so against this is my siblings have no boundaries where I'm concerned. They think they can take my stuff, come into my room without knocking or asking. They can demand I walk them to friends' houses when mom and dad are busy, and so many other annoying things. It's not like the worst thing ever, but it means I don't want to do stuff for them. My dad acknowledges and works on his stuff with my siblings, and he's punished them for taking stuff from me before. But my mom always dismisses it as oldest kid problems. She's the youngest in her family. Me and mom argued about it for weeks. Dad told her to stop putting it on me, and he pointed out my siblings don't complain about the lunches. Mom said it wasn't even the point, and she was mad Dad didn't back her up, but also that I was digging in my heels so much, and wouldn't listen to her as my mom. She said it was a respect thing. Dad got mom to back off for maybe 2 weeks, but once school was out for summer, she was telling me starting when school returns in August, I better be prepared to make lunch for everyone. I told her it wasn't happening and she needed to accept it. She told me I couldn't use food purchased for the household if I'm going to be this selfish. I told her that was fine. I just won't make my lunch anymore, and I'll go back to trash my school serves. Mom expected me to give in and make lunch for everyone, and she called me a spoiled child for going this far with it. I told her I didn't care, and she was not making me give in. Dad told me I could carry on making my lunches, but it led to another fight between him and mom saying I was behaving like his selfish brat, and they raised me better than that. Am I the a-hole? Your mom is an a-hole and abusive AF. Don't make lunch, and ask your dad for a lock for your room. Also tell your mom you don't see a problem with this, because as the youngest you got what you wanted, but your siblings hated you because you were a spoiled entitled brat. Something you want to try to turn my siblings into, not the a-hole. It's not so far off. My mom doesn't have a good relationship with her siblings, and she's very spoiled and entitled and demanding in general. Lost her best friend last year over a birthday dinner. Not the a-hole, and I don't understand why your mom won't make the lunches. Because she doesn't want to, so she expects me to do it instead. That way, she still saves on the cost of school lunches, but doesn't have to do the work. So your mom is just lazy. Got it. You're in no way the a-hole. Your mom really sucks. My mom did basically the same thing. If I made something for my lunch, she demanded I share it with my brother. If I added something I liked but he didn't, she demanded I stop adding that ingredient. When I said he needed to make his own food, she said I'd already made enough to share if I wasn't being greedy. So I stopped making my lunches. When my brother complained about that too, he was actually complaining. I just told mom I felt like PBJs today, and I wasn't planning on making more than I was going to eat, so he was welcome to make his own. She couldn't really complain because he'd made plenty of PBJs and had no excuse to demand I make them for him. I never made lunch again until I moved out. Sounds like your mother was spoiled as the youngest, often got her way, and still has the same entitled mentality. Not surprised that your mom and her siblings aren't close. I didn't speak to my brother for decades until we met up for Nana's funeral. Marriage and kids had mellowed him, and while I wouldn't say we're friends, we're not at each other's throats either. Nor do we really keep in touch. There's just too much time and distance, and we don't really know each other now. Not the a-hole. All your mom is going to do is make you resent both her and your siblings, want to get out as soon as you can, and enable your siblings to grow up entitled. Next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to call the cops on my brother's admirer and calling her a disgusting creep making her cry? I, 19 female, have a younger brother, Caden, 16 male. Caden had to change schools at the start of the second semester due to health reasons. During that time, he caught the attention of a girl I'll call Abby, 17 female. They had a few classes together, but she grew infatuated quickly. She would cling to him, gift him snacks, etc. At first, it seemed completely harmless, and even my brother was cool with it, despite him only seeing her as a friend at the time. But later, she started to exhibit a few concerning behavior traits. She would lash out at him if he didn't respond right away to texts, and she would show aggressive signs of jealousy if he hung out with other girls as just friends. He did try to let her down easily, and even though she claimed to have accepted it, she continued the behavior. But it got worse after school let out. She started leaving gifts at our doorstep, even though none of us, including Caden, ever gave her our address. Sometimes I'd catch her parked a few houses away in the evening when I went out jogging. Our parents ignored this because they thought it was cute or just a coincidence, but Caden stopped going out with his friends as much and vented to me about feeling uncomfortable with how Abby was acting. So I encouraged him to try setting boundaries with her. She ended up screaming at him over the phone when he tried, calling him gay and numerous insults before he blocked her. Not only did she continue parking nearby, but she went as far as to try spreading a rumor online that Caden gave her an STD. I was livid when I learned about the last part, so the next time she parked nearby, I confronted her. I can't detail everything I said because I was seeing red, but I ended by saying she was a disgusting creep, especially for acting this way towards someone younger than her, and I threatened to call the cops if she didn't leave Caden alone. She cried and called me a non-sympathetic a-hole before driving off. I came home and my parents knew something was up, so I told them what happened. Instead of being concerned for Caden, they got annoyed and called me dramatic for intervening with typical teenage drama. I talked to Caden later and he was thankful. Abby also took down the rumor posts later. But since then, I've gotten a few DMs from people who claim to know both of them, saying I was overreacting and being too overprotective of my brother because guys like the attention. I don't really care what they think as long as my brother is safe, but I guess I'm curious to know if I could have handled things differently, since I keep getting DMs about it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This girl's behavior is unhealthy and stalkerish. This is not typical teenage drama at all. Please visit us on the stalking board for info, and please contact your nearest DV center for free info on healthy teen relationships and how to deal with behavior like this. Your parents do need to take this seriously. Please report all this to your school and the girl's parents. They should file a police report in case this escalates. Stay safe. Hopefully the humiliation and/or the fear of having the cops called on her will stop her. But she already claimed that the brother gave her an STD. The next step is to claim he SA'd her. Not the a-hole. Don't act creepy if you don't want to be called creepy. And every single person who said guys like the attention is also creepy. Just really disturbing, and I'd maybe let your brother know who it is who has that attitude, because they'll be the ones encouraging or even assisting in the stalker's behavior if it continues. Encourage your parents to take this seriously. Coming from another parent, there are certain things we need to be able to recognize as dangerous enough that our kids can't and shouldn't be made to handle them on their own. This is one of those times. Thank you for protecting your brother when other people wouldn't. It will mean so much to him growing up, knowing someone has his back. Not the a-hole. Your parents are completely oblivious. This isn't cute, nor is it a teenage drama. If they don't do anything about it, tragedy will happen, and they won't be able to say they weren't warned. What if someone decided to get revenge on this girl for having an STI by hurting your brother? What if she were to physically attack him after she broke down? Please, take the necessary measures. Call the police yourself for information, and you and your brother should keep every piece of evidence this girl sends him. Take photos of her in her car and note down the date and time. Last story. My wife listened to my call with my therapist and is upset with what she heard. Am I the a-hole? I have a call with my therapist every Friday. My wife works from home. Last Friday, my wife and I were arguing. We haven't been getting along recently. I had my call with my therapist and my wife stormed into the room once the call was done saying I was a liar and she would never talk about me the way I talked about her. We completely separated for the weekend, but have since resolved. Over the weekend, I soundproofed my office to prevent this in the future. Today after my call, my wife is visibly upset. I ask her what's wrong, and she said the thought of me being on a call with my therapist rekindled her feelings from last week, despite not being able to hear me. I told her she was the one that listened into my private call with my therapist, and she was not supposed to hear any of what I said. She said she couldn't do anything not to hear it, even though she could have sent me a text saying, "I can hear you." I don't know what I could have done. I was having a private conversation and my wife listened in. She claimed she's never been able to hear me before, but somehow this week she could hear me. Am I the a-hole for blaming her and saying she did it to herself? In my opinion, I was venting to my therapist and not watching what I was saying, nor should I have to. My wife had the option to tell me she could hear me, but did not. She went outside for part of the call, but not after she listened in enough to have her feelings hurt. Okay, damn, you're right. She did do it to herself. I don't know what you discussed, but therapy is supposed to be a safe space which she violated, let alone be mad about what she heard. Try to explain that. I mean, therapy helps with how we see things. If you're venting because of whatever reason, the point of therapy is to help you deal with that information and process it. Sometimes it changes the way you see things and get a different perspective. Others, it reinforces what you felt. I hope you guys can sort it out, but please tell her to respect your boundaries. I have tried to explain that, but she takes it as just another thing I say she does wrong. I'm not even as upset that she listened as I could be. To me, that's a huge violation of privacy. But from how upset she was, I tried to look past that part. But I refused to take blame for it. If I listened in on my husband's therapy appointments, I'm sure I'd get hurt too, because we are both flawed humans, and facing those flaws is hard. But I'd never do that. That's such a violation of privacy. When we have telehealth appointments, we swap taking the kiddo outside to play, so no accidental overhearing happens. Also, I feel like there is a possible legal issue here. My therapist always asks if I'm sure I'm in a confidential area, like it's a big point she makes. Not the a-hole. That's what I told her. If I listened to her therapy session, my feelings would likely also get hurt. Therapy is supposed to be a private, relieving process. When my husband is in therapy, I do everything I humanly can to avoid listening. She could have walked away. Definitely not the a-hole. Yeah, I don't even want to hear what my husband says in therapy. And honestly, if there are negative thoughts and feelings he has about me, I'd be thrilled to know he was talking about them there, because a good therapist would either help him process them and give him some perspective so they will resolve themselves, or give him tools to communicate them to me in a healthy way so that we could resolve whatever was going on together.